In the Letecia Stauch trial, there was new information given in regard to Letecia's internet searches, which were shocking. In her arrest affidavit way back in March of 2020, different searches were shown in there. Most of the searches in the affidavit had dates along with them, while there were some that were recovered because Letecia deleted them, but they didn't specify the dates. But there were quite a few that were missing from that affidavit and only recently revealed. In the trial recently, there was footage of an FBI agent interviewing Letecia the day she was arrested. They talked about her searches from her phone, and only a few were repeated from the affidavit. So today we're going to get into the new searches and have a little chat about it and connect some things. There are some notable searches that can possibly blow Letecia's insanity claims out the window. So now, let's get into it. Letecia has a few patterns to her, that's for sure, besides being highly annoying. From lies to manipulations, childlike behavior, and good old internet searches. I've said this in the past, Letecia appears to use her phone searches as if she's talking to someone. Some of them, though, are search-like, looking for answers, but I also liken her behavior to being super ticked off, picking up her phone and taking it out on poor old Google just a vent. In the interview with the FBI agent Grusing, who, by the way, was also involved in Barry Morphew case, where Barry's wife is still missing and presumed dead, and Barry had some very odd behavior throughout the entire investigation. But Agent Grusing was on camera with Letecia questioning her, and he was in court to testify. He's since retired from the FBI. So the agent starts talking about this list of searches, and in true Letecia style, she acts like she has no idea what's going on, what many of them are, and how they got there, except she fesses up to a few. But some are a little shocking, yet unfortunately, not surprising. The first three are about Gannon, and the first one is the assumption that it's about Gannon. In the first search, it says, blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Because you know in here I even have what you entered in your phone, the stuff that you've entered and deleted, like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Do what? I didn't look this up.
It's from your phone.
Blood is what?
Spurting from an arterial bleed.
No.
Somebody did from your phone.
Gannon died from a gunshot wound through the jaw. He suffered a fractured skull and was stabbed 18 times and had defensive wounds on his arms. There was a significant amount of blood in the bedroom where Letecia cleaned up. A pool on the floor stained through the concrete, blood on the walls, the light socket, etc. And remember, an arterial bleed is one that is from the arteries, and when that happens, it can spurt. The authorities knew, through evidence and through Letecia's truth in her lies, that Gannon suffered a head wound or a neck wound. But Letecia threaded the truth through her lies and talking about Gannon with a head wound. And in trial, a bloodstain pattern analysis consultant and crime scene investigator was on the stand, and he explained from the bloodstain pattern analysis, I can say, with being Gannon's blood, he's on or near the floor for 1 or 2 impact events, spatter-producing events. And he said that due to the evidence on the wall above Gannon's bed, that he was likely in his bed for at least part of the attack. She's a monster. Have a listen to what Letecia said about the head wound.
Could be whatever.
But do you know what that sounds like, though, to a dad who's whipping his kid? And then you say, and a previous head wound happened where it was blood running down his face and that sort of thing, and it, you know, had to bandage it up. And
well, I don't remember saying anything about bandaging up.
I think you said Quincy Brown tried to bandage it up.
Oh, because he was making me mad about something. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember me saying I did that.
So he did suffer a head wound. We know.
Head?
Yes,
Okay.
head or neck.
Okay.
And that is what caused the blood there. And so, even if you choose not to tell us where Gannon is today because you're too nervous or whatever else, we would like to know where that was on him. So if we find him on our own, if you've given me the clues to go find him, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where was that wound?
Gannon is alive.
He's alive, fine, but where was that wound? Was it his neck or his head?
I don't know anything about a neck or head.
Well, you had to clean up the wall. You went ahead.
That was not that is not even from what you're talking about there had nothing to do with anything from Saturday, Sunday, and whatever. That had nothing to do with any of it.
How could it not?
It did
There
not.
was a lot of blood.
It did not.
You're going to have to explain that.
Sir, it did not.
Well, just tell me how.
It did not. I promise
But
you.
you're not going to tell me how.
Because
So where we can help you with
you're
it.
not going to help me, though.
How could I not help you? How are you going to get up, Letecia, on the stand after telling all these stories, which we're going to ask you about, and then say, I can explain all that, and it's some party that I never told law enforcement to go chase? If Gannon is alive, we have an 11-year-old kid somewhere being held against his will, and you're not telling us. You might as well have done this yourself. That's why I'm saying.
Let me hold you again. I'll right there.
Notice she said Saturday, Sunday, and whatever, and notice that when she said whatever, it was Monday, and Monday's the day that it happened.
Well, you had to clean up the wall. You went ahead.
That was not. That is not even from what you're talking about. There had nothing to do with anything from Saturday, Sunday, and whatever. That had nothing to do with anything.
And in that interview, Letecia went and instead of saying something, she wrote down something to the FBI agent. And she wrote that the head wound was actually on Saturday, which I wish he would have said in the interview, how did you guys hike on the Sunday then? Now back to the arterial bleed. Here's the thing. I'll see it one way, you guys will probably see it the same way, and the defense will see it another way about this search. I think the reason Letecia searched about the arterial bleed was because it's a pain in her arse to clean it up, not that she was going to help Gannon out, in my opinion. And she used the blanket to cover it up, not the fire that she first was talking about. What do you think? Let me know below. Now, another little tidbit that I heard through this trial, which makes me think even more that she's premeditated this, not that she snapped, or what the doctor's saying that she has what's previously called as multiple personality disorder. And this will be strengthened in the next text I'm talking about. But the night before the murder, when this crazy candle accident theory happened, according to Letecia, she made her daughter Harley go downstairs to say goodnight to Gannon, which Harley testified she thought this was odd and never was told before that day to go and do that. And then the next day, Gannon was murdered. Harley would be at work on that Monday that Gannon was murdered, while Gannon's sister would be at school and clearly wouldn't be able to say goodbye. It's devious, in my opinion. Now let's take a look at the next two texts. She searched, I don't like my stepson. I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce?
I don't like my stepson.
No.
I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce?
So instead of divorcing, she chose to murder and then drove across the country to dump him. Now, these next four have to do with searches about Al, Letecia's husband at the time, and Gannon's dad. They're around the topic of cheating.
Stalk cheating. I'll stalk Instagram. I'll stalk cheating in Colorado Springs. Catch Al stalk cheating.
Letecia did ask Al during one of their numerous recorded phone calls if he was cheating on her. Those were later on in the calls. And whenever she's on these calls, the only time she was interested in Gannon was when she was fishing for answers from Al as to what's going on in the investigation. In the previous affidavit back in 2020, she expressed a lot of her grievances about her husband, like find me a new husband, find real military singles, find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. And Letecia wasn't too happy about her marriage at the time, and she was quite bitter about taking care of the kids and not getting recognition. She was bitter at Gannon's mom. The list goes on. Now the next text is another important one and direct search, although Letecia doesn't see it that way. It says, how to get blood out of sheets, and then she acts dumb and makes a story up.
How to get blood out of sheets.
Out of sheets?
Mm-hmm. I want immunity.
The blood out of sheets was because we always had always nosebleeds. If I ever looked at blood out of sheets, it was nosebleeds.
And I figured it might be something.
I didn't ever look up anything about an artery or something unless it went from something else.
It's on your phone.
And I never looked up anything about my stepson unless someone else did it.
What I also found interesting during the trial, they were talking about finding Letecia's suitcase. Not the one that Gannon was found in, but Letecia's actual suitcase. And it was very odd to me that she had a blue blanket in that suitcase that had blood on it, and she kept it. Is that a souvenir? The next search, she said, I want immunity because it was gang-related. Now, this is ridiculous. We know that Letecia fabricated several stories about fictitious Eduardo, Quincy, Terrence, and Just recently we found out there was a woman who had a pregnant belly, but then ended up not being pregnant and the belly was full of money. I kid you not. And the one point she said that there was a gang, but there was a great comment from Agent Grusing who said to Letecia in, kind of a ridiculous manner, saying, how's a very organized gang gonna come to a house in Colorado Springs? And Letecia also mentioned immunity with Al on the phone, saying over and over, I'll tell you what happened, but I want immunity. So I guess all this talk about gangs led her to think about a lot of men, because then she mentions next, find me a new husband, find me a rich guy who wants to take care of his kids. We saw that in the arrest affidavit along with others as well. But here's how she explains it away.
Find me a new husband, find me a rich guy who wants to take care of his kids.
The new husband is just because Albert already knew that was about the lady Debbie Sherrill who wanted to find a new husband after 35 or something. He picked me about Amazon.
And like a lot of these can have nothing to do with this.
It doesn't.
I get it.
Next, can I spray paint wood? Now, there was wood in the garage that Letecia admitted having blood on it, and she admitted to cleaning it. Also, there was a board that was discarded north of Colorado Springs in Douglas County that had Gannon's DNA on it. She admitted to tossing that board in the back of the truck.
Everything.
If you're not willing to go with who took Gannon, can you at least tell me what injuries he suffered? The true ones. As far as the cut foot, was that a legit injury?
Yes.
And where did that happen?
Oh, he was outside in the garage, and when he was outside in the garage, he was running to go help me take the trash. Take the trash out, come back and help me get stuff out of the car, and then he stepped on something, which I left the blood there. Like, I left it, because Albert said, don't touch that fine wood or African wood, whatever kind of wood it was.
What did the piece of wood look like? Okay. And it's still there in the garage?
I had to drive over them all the time. Like, I always had to drive over the pieces of wood.
Right. But
right.
You didn't take that out of the garage?
It's too big. You couldn't have fit it in anything. You couldn't have fit the pieces. The long boards that were in the garage, you could not fit. I left. So there was the piece of board that I threw in the back of our truck. And then there was the two long boards that were sitting there. So the board that was about like this size and the board that was the long boards that were sitting here. I left the long boards because that was supposed to be the fancy wood, and I didn't want to avoid or trying to get the blood off of it. The other piece of wood was the wood that I threw in the back of Albert's truck.
And what was that?
There was a bunch of pieces that were laying around that from that night, from us running through there. It was like little pieces. There was a piece about this size, maybe a couple pieces. But
and
that
you threw in the back of the truck? That bigger piece?
You said bigger like this. It wasn't that big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cheap wood. Like, I knew it was not the wood that he would be freaking out over.
Next, I'm doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help. Now, Letecia actually took responsibility for this one. She wasn't happy at all with Gannon's mom, Landon. She wrote a whole list of things that was in the affidavit, like, I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a Valentine's Day card since I raise her kids, or I'm over here doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help. Here's what she said to the agent.
I'm doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help.
Oh, that bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame
Oh,
you.
yes, because I wanted them to be mine. Like
what about it?
Me to be their child.
Now, the agent said Letecia Googled a lot on the topic of hit and run. And this was part of her plot on one of the fictitious stories she fed, that she and Gannon were driving north of Colorado Springs in Douglas County area, and it's not even worth talking about because we know it's a fabricated story.
Hit and run? You Googled a lot on Letecia and traffic accident, hit and run.
I didn't hit anybody.
No? What was that?
What date was it?
I don't have a date on these. I was downloading stuff as I was coming on the plane.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Next, my husband wants a divorce, my husband wants a baby, but I want an abortion.
My husband wants a divorce. My husband wants a baby, but I want an abortion.
Now, Letecia said in one of the interviews that she was 8 weeks pregnant. She also said that in a letter to Judge Werner, she wrote one. This was a while back. I do have that in my playlist below. The next one was one that was in the affidavit but mentioned in the interview, and one that is very, very important because I believe this is part of her premeditation to kill Gannon. She said, one day, some people will wish that they treated you differently.
One day, some people will wish they treated you differently, which I get that.
Next text was parenting should be 4 people, not 1, also in the affidavit. Things a suicidal person might say. And there was a clip also that Letecia said about having kids and that the agent wasn't getting the point of it.
Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. Quote a suicidal person might say. I mean, these make me very sad when I read them because I can see you're doing all the work at home by yourself.
Which I wanted to be there. Like, I wanted to totally have the kids as my children. That's the point you're not getting. Like, I wanted those kids to be saying to me that I'm their mom.
Yeah.
Like, I am the person who does it, cares for them, loves them, everything. So you can think that.
What about?
Next one. What do you do if you suspect a person swallowed poison?
What do you do if you suspect a person swallowed poison? Did somebody actually swallow poison?
Poison? I don't know. I always click things and read them.
Did somebody swallow it?
No one swallowed any poison.
Now, in the initial investigation, we were all wondering what happened to Gannon in the morning. He was walking out to the truck from the house and could barely walk. The neighbor who caught this on his video footage said that Gannon looked sluggish and looked like he was drugged. And in the trial, we finally found out that from the autopsy, it was determined Gannon had acetaminophen and hydrocodone in his system. So the question is, when did she give that to him? When Al was on the stand, he said that he had those pills from a hand injury, and he said he hated taking pills, so he had a whole bunch left. I think he said he maybe even had 1 or 2, I can't remember, but he said he had them in his nightstand. He said the only people that knew about it was Letecia and him. So 2 and 2 is 4, but to Letecia it's only 3. So not only did she do all these heinous things to Gannon, but she also gave him pills as well. This woman is not crazy, she's evil. Pure manipulating evil, in my opinion. Next search, you will never forgive me and treat me like a princess. Also searched, you'll never know when it's too late.
You will never forgive me and treat me like a princess. You'll never know when it's too late.
Oh yeah, I mean, I always search for things when Albert.
I think he knows it's too late, Letecia. There's a lot more of these types of searches in the affidavit, like I mentioned. I'll break it down in a timeline video to see more of Letecia's evil ways. This is a woman who will never accept responsibility. It will always be someone else's fault. She'll continue to act like a child in court, flipping the bird, although the judge has addressed that. She'll be cupping her ears, hanging her head down, whatever she could do to not face the truth, in true Letecia style. I am so looking forward to the day she gets sentenced. She will, in my opinion, be found guilty and not what she's pleading, the not guilty by reason of insanity. Please leave some blue hearts, as always, for our little buddy. We'll see you in the next video.